My friends, thanks for being here today. It's great to see you. I just want to take a few minutes and say thank you to all of you for the amazing support that you have given this channel and to me and my family in this year of 2024, which has been the first full calendar year of me being full-time here on YouTube creating content about backpacking and camping. And I'm just feeling grateful. I'm feeling nostalgic. I'm feeling just like I need to express that gratitude to you for the amazing support that you have given. So there's a few things that I want to talk about and just kind of have an open, honest, kind of candid conversation and go through some of the questions that you guys asked as I said, hey, let's do a quick Q&A session to kind of wrap up 2024. So that's what we're going to do today. Look back over some of the trips that I've been on this year that have really meant a lot to me. I want to say thank you and really express that gratitude to you, the incredible audience that I have, as well as some of the brands that I've been able to work with this year that have been just phenomenal brands to work with. And then we'll get into your questions. So looking back on some of the trips that I've been on this year, I went on 17 or so different types of backpacking and camping trips. Solo, out with friends, out with my family, and it was just an amazing year of adventure. But a few of the trips that really stand out to me this year are, first, I finally got to see the Cosmic Ashtray in the Escalante area of Utah. Eric Hansen joined me on that trip. It was the first time Eric and I were able to get together and spend some time out on a trip together, and Eric is the man. That was so much fun. Doing that trip with him, which required a lot of communication. It required a lot of skill set and working together as a team to be able to work through all of the bushwhacking, the mileage that we had to cover, the navigation aspect, and just making sure that we were able to be safe and do it in a way that provided a really positive experience. And Eric was the perfect person to join me on that trip, and I'm super grateful for that. Second was I got to guide a group of university students for a 5 or 6 day backpacking trip down the Paria River Canyon. That canyon is so mind-blowingly beautiful. It's such an amazing place to be. And if you ever get the chance to go do the Paria River Canyon in Utah in the Buckskin Gulch area, highly recommended. But being able to be in that position of guiding a group of students and see that experience in a different way than the first time I did it, which was as a college student, just amazing. I loved that experience, and I'm super grateful that the circumstances lined up for that to work out the way that it did, even though it was less than ideal. Don't need to get into the details of that, but just an awesome opportunity that I look back on very fondly, and the really cool students that I got to spend that time with. Then another trip that really stands out to me is doing the High Uinta Basin Loop that I had planned for quite some time that I did with Brigham from Outdoor Vitals. And Brigham has become a close friend. I really appreciate who he is as a person and what he provides in an experience level, but also his technical knowledge of moving through the backcountry. The guy is just super smart, and man, it was just so much fun to work through some of those technical areas of going up overpasses, coming down, communicating well together to make sure we were safe and working together, and just being smart about how we approached that trip. It was an incredible experience. Brigham, thanks for making that turn out the way that it did and have that experience that we did together. It was just so much fun. And then lastly, we'll talk about the Bears Ears trip that I did with my good friend Marty, who came all the way from Ottawa, Canada to experience the desert and spend that time with me, looking at Native American ruins and petroglyphs and those structures and just the history of that incredible area. That was such a fun and enjoyable experience. And Marty, seeing it through his eyes and what he was experiencing for the first time was just, it was fascinating, so cool. So there were obviously many other trips that I did together with my family, seeing my kids adventure and just grow and experience new things. And we went to new places together. That was phenomenal. And spending time with family friends as well, and just have those really good memories just cemented in place that we can look back on fondly. I'm just really, really grateful for it. But I want to acknowledge that I fully understand that none of this would really be possible, which sounds so cliched to say, but like I want to just express from the deepest part of my soul just how incredibly grateful I am for all of you, for the support that you give to the channel, to me, and to my family. It genuinely means so much to me that I get to do this as my job, and I get to share my experiences of testing gear and time spent out in the backcountry that ultimately helps you have a better experience through what I am trying to share through my experiences here in the videos that I create. That is my ultimate goal. Like if I was to, I don't have a mission statement for my business, but if I did have a mission statement, which I probably should, it would be that I want others to have a better experience in the backcountry, a really positive experience. And I want to do that through providing the best gear reviews that I possibly can, through sharing my experience, through sharing my knowledge of years and decades of time spent out in the backcountry that can help you hopefully have a better experience by choosing the right gear items, by just seeing maybe I shouldn't be doing what Devin's doing, or trying to share some kind of different perspective and have one more piece of data and perspective that can ultimately help you have a more enjoyable experience out on your own trips in the backcountry. I want what I'm doing to inspire you to be out there doing those things and having your own adventures. And if you're not in a situation where that is possible, then maybe you are living vicariously through the things that I am sharing. And that is also a huge part of what I'm trying to do. And I just really want to say thank you. Like, thank you a million infinity like times over. Thank you so much for being a viewer of this channel, for the support that you give, and just being here. It seriously, it means so much to me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for the support that you've given me and making this job a reality. And I can't wait for what 2025 is going to bring to the table of opportunities and some of the wild things that I've got planned, and some really humbling opportunities that I'm excited to share with you guys as well, that I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on because there's still some like logistics that have to get figured out, but I think you'll enjoy it, and it's going to be an amazing thing to share with you guys. So thank you. Like, if you've watched 1 minute of a video, if you've watched 30 seconds, if you watch every single minute and comment, and just whatever level of support that you give to the channel, thank you. Like, I genuinely appreciate you and what support you provide to me and my family through this channel. Now, I also really want to say thank you to so many of the amazing brands that I've been able to work with this year, which is just, it's super humbling that that is an opportunity to test gear, provide feedback, and hopefully in some ways help make a piece of gear better by providing an experience of real world use of a piece of gear out in the backcountry, and even deeper working relationships with brands through sponsorship, through just having that friendship that comes from working closely. And man, it's so hard to like name off every single brand that I've worked with and the gratitude that I have. But some of the noteworthy brands that I've worked with this year are, first, like Garage Grown Gear. I am so grateful for Garage Grown Gear, who they are for the backpacking community as a retailer, but even bigger than that, Lloyd and his amazing team are just such a fabulous support to the backpacking community and to the outdoor brands in general in the cottage industry space, in giving a platform for small brands to be able to sell their gear, which in many cases would be really difficult for these super tiny one-person operations to be able to have an audience or a group of customers that large to be able to sell your product to. And I think it's amazing that a company like Garage Grown exists to be able to make that possible for the brands, but also a one-stop shop for all of you as the customers and myself as a customer to be able to find really, really cool, unique pieces of backpacking gear that are not going to be found anywhere else. So I want to just give a sincere thank you to Lloyd and his team for the support that you've given this channel in 2024, and hopefully look forward to continuing that in 2025. But OUTERWEAR Backcountry, another incredible brand that I've been able to work with this year that I'm super grateful for. I love the OUTERWEAR Backcountry product. That app is so helpful as a planning tool. It's so helpful as a navigation tool, as offline navigation, and just having all of that information at the palm of your hand. Like, I love that app. I love the people that are behind that company, and they've just been amazing to work with as well. But seriously, so many other amazing brands that I've been able to work with that if I try to name everybody off, I'm going to forget somebody and I'll feel bad about that. But some of the other noteworthy brands that I have worked with have been like ZenBivy and UGQ Outdoor and TFS and Pretense, Hill Zero Gear, Kilos Gear, Sawyer Products, Fire Maple Gear, and many, many, many other brands that I am just so grateful for the opportunity to test your products, share it with you guys, my audience, on whether or not it's a good piece of gear or the pros and cons of all of this, and just be able to have the opportunity to test so many different pieces of gear truly means a lot. So if you are a brand that have worked with me this year in 2024, thank you so much for that opportunity. Now I want to dig into some of the questions that you guys asked for this Q&A to wrap up 2024. And there's a lot of really fun questions here that I'm excited to talk about. But the most common one that I'll start with was, what are my trip plans for 2025? Now, I don't have anything really set in stone yet, just a lot of ideas and a couple of really exciting opportunities that I am just humbled by even being on the table as an option and an opportunity. And that is, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on it because I want a little bit of that surprise factor, but I am going on an international trip that there's still so many pieces of the puzzle that have to line up and get put into place for this to logistically work out the way that I want it to work out, but also for what is being planned. But an international trip that involves flying over the ocean to an area that I've never been to before, that would be a completely new experience. And I am just like, I'm giddy at the opportunity, and also super grateful that this is even an option for me to be able to take advantage of. Like, I'm blown away by it being presented as an option, but more information is going to come on that later as things get set in stone with it. But outside of that, I am planning to do the Uinta Highline Trail towards the end of the summer. A couple of friends that are going to come out of state, or at least that's the plan right now, which I've wanted to do that trail for close to a decade at this point. I've been backpacking in the Uintas my entire life, and it's just always been there, and I've just never done it. So these friends coming from out of state who want to do the trail is going to help make that a reality, and really looking forward to spending that time with them. But outside of that, as a family, we're looking forward to visiting a couple new national parks this year, doing a lot of camping together. My kids are getting older, which is making the adventures together more enjoyable, from the sense of like, we can go experience newer things and have new opportunities and not have to be limited as much by having super tiny children. So that's what I've got on the books right now for 2025. We'll see what comes together as the months roll and such, but it should be an amazing year of adventure. The next question is, if I could only have one tent, one backpack, one sleep system to use for all of my trips, what would they be? Now, I spend a lot of time in the backcountry testing so many different pieces of gear, and for the most part, everything that I use is good to great to really awesome pieces of gear. It's very rare that I find a junk piece of gear. So it can be hard to narrow down exactly what that would be. But For the tents that I have really enjoyed this year, the tarp tent Dipole is one of my favorite tents of all time. The TFS Gemini, which is a 2-person dome style freestanding tent. I love that tent. Really cool design, really like intricate details in how it's all put together. Just a really great tent. The Hill Zero Scout, that's one of the most enjoyable tents that I've used this year. An amazing value as well. For my backpack, I think I'd choose the Outdoor Vitals CS40. It's just kind of a simple 40-liter, perfect size for me for a weekend trip. And I've just had a really positive experience with it. For my sleep system, I love the ZenBivy, but also like I love the UGQ Bandit. That quilt is so well made. It's lightweight. It comes from a great cottage company. And so like it's so hard to narrow down exactly one piece of gear. So UGQ Bandit, the ZenBivy, as well as the ZenBivy Ultralight pad, and that would be the sleep system. So there you go. What is my favorite part of a backpacking trip? Good question. Really good question. I would say that it is the planning process that happens before a trip. Now, obviously being out on the trip is amazing, and having that experience and being there in the moment is incredible. But I really enjoy the research and the planning process that happens before a trip that gets you excited. That is that process of just like anticipation, and then having that plan all come together while you're out there is the secondary part of how the planning is so much fun. To see things that you're like, man, I saw this on a map and now I'm seeing it in person and I'm experiencing it, and that is really cool. So it's the planning, but it's also the execution of the plan as well that I love it. Like that I would say is my favorite part of a backpacking trip. What piece of gear surprised me the most in 2024? I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anybody, but the Fire Maple Petrol G3 heat exchanger pot. That pot's amazing. Like the value of it being under $30 and how quickly it boils water, the build quality of it, and just, I don't know, it is a great piece of cookware that I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. And yeah, that's the piece of gear that I've been most surprised at, just how much I've enjoyed it for how simple it is too. So the Fire Maple Petrol G3 pot. Now the next question is, what do I pack for my camera gear? My camera gear has been like all over the place over the last few years, but for 2024, it's primarily been my Sony A7C full frame camera with a Sony 20 to 70 millimeter lens that is an f4 lens. But then I also have an Insta360 Ace Pro action camera, an Insta360 X4 360 camera, and a DJI Pocket Osmo 3, which I do most of my trip filming on at this point. And then I also recently got a DJI drone, the Air 3S. So that is kind of rounding out to my full filming equipment stuff, but I also use my iPhone also. And I have found that like less is more in my case with my filming gear. I've taken my Sony on a few of my trips, and I just don't enjoy having that big bulky thing with me, even though I film with it on all of my other videos that I do. The DJI Osmo Pocket 3 has been my favorite trail camera, and it's fantastic. So those are the pieces of gear that I pack for filming for my trips and such here on the channel. The best sleeping bag or quilt that has a wide footbox. My first idea of this goes to the Sea to Summit Ascent Down sleeping bag. It is just more of a rectangular shape than many other sleeping bags out there, and I think it's a really good value. It sleeps super comfortably. It's not constrictive like a traditional mummy bag would be, but also like the ZenBivy system. is fantastic, or the UGQ Bandit would be a great option as well. You can get those in a non-tapered type of design from UGQ that adds some width and such to that whole sleeping experience. And so those would be my suggestions. What is my favorite place in Utah to hike? Great question, and won't be a surprise to anybody, but it's the Capitol Reef and Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument area of the state. Just that entire geographical area of the state, including the Bears Ears area now, is just where I love to adventure. There's so much to explore. There's so much to see. It never gets boring, and it's a just wild experience every single time, and I love that place. Like, if I could live in Escalante, I would do it. It would take some convincing, a huge convincing to get my wife to move down there. It's not gonna happen, but that would be my favorite place to hike. If you could choose only one manufacturer for all of my gear, what would it be? I look at this question as like backpack, sleeping gear, apparel, and just the basic big items. And I think one brand that I feel like checks all of those boxes of things that they have would be Outdoor Vitals. Everything that I've had from Outdoor Vitals, for the most part, like not every piece of gear I've had from them has been this amazing, like, favorite piece of gear that I have had, but the vast majority of what I have used from Outdoor Vitals over the years has been amazing. I love the CS40 backpack. I love their apparel, the Ventus hoodie, the Vario jacket, and the Altitude hoodie. I wear that pretty much on every single one of my trips. Their quilts and sleeping bags are really well made. So if we're looking at just one manufacturer for all of that stuff, then I would look at Outdoor Vitals. Now, the next question. This person says, I know you sell bags and such on Etsy, but have you considered other gear items since you've worked for a gear company as well? So yeah, I do make accessory bags. I make food bags and little ditty bags and such that are simple in design, but I sell them on my Etsy store. And in fact, in 2025, I am planning to launch a new website where I'll sell directly through my website of all of these accessory items that I am making, and hope to build that much bigger than it is. Whether or not that is directly under the Backcountry Exposure name, or if I kind of run it as a DBA, as a separate side business within the business, I haven't figured that out yet. But that will be happening. But for the time being, these bags are available on Etsy. But I'm not really interested in bigger projects like backpacks or tents or apparel or anything that requires a huge manufacturing process. I just don't have the time. I don't have the space, and it's not something that I'm really interested in doing myself. Now, I worked for Waymark Gear Company, and I loved that opportunity. It was just a phenomenal experience working with Mark, and the friendship that we have still to this day, super close friends. I just am not interested in doing that myself. So you're gonna see some more accessory bags and stuff, but yeah, I'm not looking to do tents or anything really extravagant from a manufacturing standpoint. What is my trail name? This, in short, we'll be quick with it. But I got a new trail name this year, which I don't know. Nobody really calls me it. It just was kind of a joke. But I was out on a trip, sleeping in a hammock, had some chili the night before, so I was a bit gassy, and I was coined the name Windmill. So, but in the past, I've also had the trail name of Ninja, which can be shared in another video and another story another time. But yeah, I don't really have a trail name, but if that's what we're gonna say, it'd be Windmill. So there we go. Now, the last question here is, how do you work with brands and sponsors, and do you do your best to remain impartial? I love this question. I think that this is so incredibly important, because the trust of You as the viewer to me as the creator is paramount above everything else. And so there's a few things at play here that are just vitally important and paramount to me as the creator. First is that you as the viewer trust me in what I'm presenting in a authentic and genuine manner. And I will always be as transparent and honest as I possibly can be so that that trust is never broken of what is being shared is coming from a place of integrity, a place of authenticity and such. And so you can trust that I work to remain as impartial as I possibly can be. Now, when money is being exchanged between me and a brand, that also has some requirements at play that are super important to be shared as well. In fact, it is illegal for me as a creator to not disclose when a brand has exchanged money between me and them. I will always share when money has been exchanged between me and a brand and they are sponsoring a video. It is how I make money as one of the revenue streams for my business, but I will always be honest, transparent, and forthright in sharing that when a brand has exchanged money with me, that it is being disclosed to you in a transparent way. Now, my process for like testing gear and such is that I always want to share real world experiences with the gear that I am using. I really don't like doing unboxing style videos, and even though I do first impression or first look types of videos on maybe some exciting new pieces of gear, I try to be as open about that experience as possible that, hey, like this is my first time seeing this, or this is my first time out with this piece of gear, and I'm not going to come to conclusions on this of whether or not I recommend it. And particularly when a sponsor is involved, I try to not recommend that piece of gear at all, because that obviously presents a level of not being impartial and saying, well, because this brand sent this money to me or this piece of gear and there was that money exchanged, that you now need to buy it. Like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be of a high level of integrity and somebody that you can trust. Now, something else within this mix that I think is relevant is, in some cases, after I have spent a considerable amount of time with a product and have a deeper working relationship with a brand, I have done some user-generated content creation, in the sense that creating content for a brand around a product where I have spent a considerable amount of time testing it, I trust it, I really enjoy the product and stand behind it, and I am now creating some content for the brand for them to use as a like social media ad or such that you would see on like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So maybe you've seen me in various like Facebook ads and such, and that is the situation that is at play there. Now, there have been times where brands have simply taken my YouTube content, used it for their ads without permission, without any kind of like agreement between us, and that's a problem. I hope that makes sense. Hope that answers your question. But I also, to just wrap this up, I want to say thank you. Like, you guys are amazing. I appreciate you so much. I cannot wait for what 2025 has to bring, and you guys are amazing. So thank you so much for an amazing year. I hope you have an amazing year, and look forward to what comes in 2025. So thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.